is the Stuck Mic AvCast, an aviation podcast about learning to fly, living to fly, and loving to fly.
Welcome back to the deck here at Sun and Fun. Chats from the deck. My name is Carl Valeri. We have a special segment here today. We are streaming live atc.net/SNF. But also, this is actually our podcast for the Stuck Mic AvCast.
So you are Eric Crump, and you are the Vice President of the Aerospace Center for Excellence.
That is what the name tag says. Yes, thank you guys for having me. Glad to be back. Glad to start a new year of Sun and Fun with you guys.
And we're glad you're here. We're glad you're here. Now, what exactly does the Vice President do?
That's a great question. So for the week of Sun and Fun, I get asked that a lot. Like, what do you guys do? Well, Gene is busy running the show, obviously, and coordinating all the things that are going on. I have a radio, and I respond to security calls, and I respond to somebody needs a pass or whatever. Of course, I mean, you guys know this, but to the listeners who maybe don't, Sun and Fun is a great event. It's a fun event, but it's really a method to do something else. So Sun and Fun is really just a gigantic fundraiser. And these 6 days constitute about 50% of the yearly revenue for the Aerospace Center for Excellence. So when the net proceeds for Sun and Fun come in, that's what funds the other 51 weeks of the year, as our aviation education nonprofit reaches over 30,000 kids with programming year-round, every day.
And we did bring that up earlier, that it costs millions to put this event on, and the event does make money, but it's not going in anybody's pocket. It's going to further the mission, which is really cool. So this week you got a radio and you're answering security calls and parking passes and demand waffle demands.
And whatever you guys need as your liaison.
Absolutely, yeah.
And we bribe Eric with waffles. So but Eric, but what about the rest of the year? But when you're not actively working at, during, or preparing for the Aerospace Expo, what do you do the rest of the year?
So everything that is our mission, to engage, educate, and accelerate the next generation of aerospace professionals, all that's my responsibility. So I oversee our Florida Air Museum, the Ramos Skylab Innovation Center, and all of our education programs, as well as Lakeland Aero Club, our high school flying club here on campus.
Yeah, we were talking about the Aero Club as well this morning, which is a really great operation for the students. Now, your missus, Miss Jenny Lynn, runs a program. Tell us about the program that Jenny Lynn does.
Yes, Madam Crump. So this is a family affair here. My daughter Harper is a program assistant. She helps out with our field trips for the kids that come through. My wife,
Harper, is like this.
No. Dave used to refer to Harper and Penelope as the Crumpettes because they used to be small and now they're grown. Harper's 18. She's going to college in a few months. Wow. And Penelope just got her driver's license. So I know they've aged a little bit since you met them to begin with. But yeah, my wife runs our Storytime program here. So every Tuesday at 10 a.m., not this Tuesday because Sun and Fun, but every Tuesday at 10 a.m., we have 150 people. Over 100 of them are kids, pre-K kids. And they're learning about the importance of literacy and also getting a love for reading, which we all know is important. If you can read, you can do anything. But they're doing it under the guise of aviation. So it happens in the Florida Air Museum. Great opportunity for kids to build that early interest, the love of aviation.
And it's not a great problem. I remember seeing pictures from the first view, and I'm like, is this going to work?
It was crazy. So when she came to me with this idea, because we had a 3-year-old son at the time who's now 6, and she's like, you know what? I go to these libraries with him and we do some like story time stuff. What do you think about me doing like a story time in the Florida Air Museum? And I was like, I don't know if people will come. And she said, well, so how will we know if it's successful? And I said, well, how many people go to the library? She's like, 10 or 15. I said, okay, well, if 15 people come, then I guess we were successful. So the first day we did it, 55 people showed up, and I was like, okay, this might be a thing.
This might just
In
work.
the summer, we have to do it Monday and Tuesday because on Monday, we'll have about 150, 180 people come, but then on Tuesday, it's 250 people that come every week during the summer. So it's a huge program, and it's become sort of a catalyst for a whole bunch of early learning programs like our STEM Sprouts program, which is effectively like a homeschool science co-op, but that goes from pre-K all the way through 5th grade. We're expanding to middle school next year for that group. So yeah, it's a lot of fun.
Great. And thank Jenny Lynn because she's volunteering to do that too, right?
She is, and she's actually volunteering this week over in Family Oasis. So she is helping out for all the families with the little kids who need to get out of the sun for a little bit. We have an air-conditioned Family Oasis tent with private restrooms, conveniently located directly across from Chick-fil-A. It's almost like we planned it that way. But it's a great place for people to get out of the sun for a minute and let the little ones cool off a little bit because it is a long day.
And they have activities for the kids and stuff in there too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, great. So that's the Family Oasis here on the ground in the future N-Flight Plaza.
Really legitimately right behind us.
Right behind us, yeah. From the back deck of the radio station, you can see the Family Oasis there, and you can see, and I don't know about anybody else, but I can smell the Chick-fil-A trailer, which is going to make me crazy. I've been on a diet since January. I think I'm going to blow it this week between waffles and Chick-fil-A. I'll probably put back on 15 pounds.
So, I mean, I love having Chick-fil-A here. We eat a lot of Chick-fil-A anyway, but so yesterday, as sort of a test of the kitchen, staff got Chick-fil-A boxes. And we were sort of guinea pigs, I think, in some way to make sure it worked. And not only did it work, but I'm definitely now going to have to go there every day and chicken up.
Fast food, America's learning to live on fast food, which is really sad. But Chick-fil-A is really good stuff, and it's, as fast food goes, it's not really that unhealthy. But I'll make a deal with you, Eric. I will buy you lunch at Chick-fil-A trailer on Sunday.
Okay, well, I'm going to go hungry and you're going to save money. Every time we've announced Chick-fil-A, especially like on the live programs we've done in the Media Lab, Gene is very quick to point out not open on Sunday. So
there we go. So you have to get your Chick-fil-A fix up, and you can get your Chick-fil-A fix up until Saturday. We thank them for being out there. And my understanding is that they brought the special mobile Chick-fil-A kitchen that can make the waffle fries.
Yes, so we got the good kitchen. So we've got fries, we've got Chick-fil-A sandwiches, and some Chick-fil-A tea and lemonade. So you really can't go wrong over there.
So tell me what else. We got about 2 minutes left here, Mr. Eric. Does Carl have any questions for you? Carl's
real quickly on this STEM and the programs that are here. Most people tell me it's all about aviation and flying and mechanics. No, it's for promoting STEM, and I love what you said. It's a catalyst for STEM and STEM programs, and that's something I think people don't realize.
If you create a lifelong learner, you've got a successful person, right? So, and that seed has to be planted early. Kids who haven't understood why they need to learn, go to school and they're bored and they're not engaged. Yeah, but if they had a reason for learning or something that they were aspiring to, then we know that research says that then the kids are going to be more likely to complete school. They're going to do well. And any job in a STEM field, you're going to be able to take care of yourself and your family.
And what's cooler than airplanes and rockets?
Sure.
And
yeah. I mean,
all sorts of.
The whole idea is, look, if they all go into aviation, that's great because we need them all, right? But if they decide that aviation isn't for them, worst case scenario, they're aviation ambassadors. They're pro-aviation. They're not going to be calling in noise complaints at the local airport because they know what aviation is and why it's important. So either way, we get good citizens and we get aviation ambassadors.
Yeah, absolutely.
And just you guys are using a term that we all know, but there might be somebody out in the audience who doesn't know it. I keep hearing you refer to STEM.
Science, technology, engineering, and math. So just an easy way to, and we love acronyms in aviation about as much as they do in education. So STEM is a sort of a conglomeration of everything, and STEM is aviation, and aviation is STEM. All of the STEM disciplines are represented in everything that aviation is.
And that's great. And also another version of it is STEAM, where they include science, technology, engineering, art. And mathematics. So what we do here, Eric, thank you for being here. I don't know how many years now we've done this first thing in the morning, but
a few.
First interview of the year. We are glad you're here. I'm not sure. I don't see anybody here. I don't know if you have to run off. If you don't, we're doing a 5-minute break. If you want to come back and talk a little bit more about this week, we'd love to have you stay on.
Because you and Carl are here, I'll stick around.
One of the things I love about doing Sun and Fun and Sun and Fun Radio being back is the fact that we get to interview some really interesting people that have some amazing products. And today we have somebody on the deck to talk about that. Joining me also is pilot Jim G. and Russ Rosleski to talk to Marshall about his Aerocreeper. Hey, and it's great to meet you. And you have a very important product for those of us that like to keep our backs in shape, especially while we're maintaining our airplane. So, Marshall, tell us a little bit about Aerocreeper.
Yeah, the Aerocreeper, the name came from, blending aviation and the maintenance aspect of it with creeper. But being an airplane, you're 30 inches off the ground at times under the wing or under the belly. And so the Aerocreeper has this unique mechanism where you ratchet it up and it lifts you into multiple different positions, raises you off the ground, but keeps you at a nice incline, so you're fully supported from your thighs all the way up to your upper back.
So this is different than the regular creepers that you have in the store. They're kind of flat. I just got rid of mine, actually, so I'm kind of in the market for it. So I'm very interested about this.
Right. People may visualize a creeper from the automotive world where you have the mechanic's legs sticking out under the car.
Yeah, and those are essential tools. But cars being what they are, they're 10 inches off the ground or whatnot. So you've got that singular plane of motion. We took what maybe consider like a beach lounge chair and that original creeper, and we kind of married the two, and that's what became the Aerocreeper.
Yeah, I was looking at the website for your product, and I mean, it as you mentioned, it raises, lowers, right?
Yeah.
And the back tilts up and down. It has a headrest. I think I might fall asleep working on the airplane.
I know the comfort is a double-edged sword. You get too comfortable. Bosses cringe when they see it, and they're like, "Well, I gotta buy it because I gotta keep my crew happy." But no sleeping on the job.
So, Marshall, where can they find you here on campus? And also, what are you introducing today at Sun & Fun?
Thank you. Yeah, we're longtime attendees and vendors here, and we're still back at Hangar C. We're in Charlie 23, a nice location that we've loved over the years. And Aerocreeper.com is the website. But we went to the Innovation Preview, and we got to announce the launch earlier this year of what we call the PowerLift G2. G2, kind of the G nods to the grip, the word G for grip, the letter G for grip, and then also generation. So it's kind of like the second evolution of the PowerLift, which we came out with in 24. The PowerLift is, we took that adjustable design that was a manual ratcheting design, so to speak, and we energized it. It runs off of a cordless drill battery, like the M18 series, and it's got a linear actuator. We kind of fussed with some hydraulics in the early phases, but those have their issues. So we're sticking with DC power, and it's got a fully electric actuator, linear actuator, which brings you from laying flat all the way to sitting up. And that G2 is the grip. So you've got all the controls in one hand. The thumb has a safety button, so there's no accidental going up. That's what we wanted to keep a safety first aspect to it. No compromises there. And then you rock a rocker switch with your pointer and your middle finger. So you're in control.
The traditional dead man switch, as they called it, right?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yep.
Absolutely. And something else that's interesting about this is that you went to electric instead of hydraulic, which you're actually seeing more and more in like those simulators and things like that, and even in the rides is more electric and a little more fine-tuning. It is a bit safer and less maintenance.
Yeah, fine-tune. It's a fully sealed. You talked about the maintenance. You're never going to see a drip of some kind of grease or oil coming out. The shaft is fully sealed into that I believe it's a ball screw or some type of Acme thread so that it can have that smooth motion.
And since you're using M18 batteries, it means that it fits into infrastructure that's already in place in different places, and you don't have to go out and buy a whole new mechanism. You've got the charger, you've got the battery, just throw it in there.
Exactly. We researched it. It's the most popular system out there for working professionals as well as guys at home. But the best part is you can get adapters. You can even run a DeWalt system, rigid, Makita, anything you've got, we'll just simply adapt and anything, and the actuator will actually handle a range of voltages. So some systems are kind of pushing their 20 volts and 24 volts or even 16. So you got a range there, and you can adapt it.
Now, is there a neck support as you lean forward? Is there like a headrest that moves, that articulates?
The headrest, you're trying to tease out our secrets, aren't you? Our engineering, R&D. I'll say this: we have it's a pretty simplistic approach. It's a headrest that we use a simple nylon strap around the back, and it buckles. So that kind of gets you the adjustment and keeps your head supported like you're asking. But there may be some some things happening.
Ooh, little hint for our. You heard it here first. I want Fun Radio.
And here's the true DNA through line, which is it's a father-son team who founded the company. They're still there. The son actually, Joel, and he was here last year. They're very involved with the company. You call up, you can get a hold of him. But he's a true-blooded engineer, and he came off of the automotive industry and came back to the company, and we are innovating like crazy.
That's great. Do you go around to aircraft repair shops to see the product in use and get feedback from the mechanics?
Yeah, and even the military installations. One of our next door neighbors, so to speak, is Hill Air Force Base, and while they can't, being the military, they can't fully endorse it, but they're a big repeat user, as well as every single branch of the U.S. military, foreign militaries abroad. You've got names like Duncan and Textron, and we get to see those people here, Piper and Robinson Helicopter. We get to see those entities and hear their because that's the B2B side, right? That's the results-driven side.
Yep.
Where they go, well, why would I want to invest $500, $700 even in the G2 sticker shock here? It's $3,000.
Whoa!
Wow.
A little more if you need that battery pack.
I say whoa because initially there's that sticker shock.
Sure.
But I'm thinking about it. If I do this 40 hours a week,
Bingo.
50 weeks a year, yeah, I'm going for it.
Yeah, it's a tool at that point. I mean,
exactly.
Yeah, it's a.
And think of the unique aspects of aviation where the belly's at one height, but the belly at the landing gear is one height. The belly at the tail is another height. And the wings, you've got dihedral and engine nacelles. So when at these high demand threshold environments like the working professionals, they've got to be at a wingtip, and then a moment later they are under the engine nacelle, or they're moving down to the root of the wing, and so that's why a SpaceX or a GE Aerospace or a Gulfstream in Savannah is going to make that investment. And we do use that term. It's an investment because you're investing in your people.
Right.
And as we're hearing these news come in with the employee workforce shortage, not only incoming, but a creeper like ours, we've heard stories where it'll add a year or two to a legacy worker to delay their what would have been a forced retirement due to back and knees. Now you've got that tribal knowledge sticking around your hangar. How do you put a price on that?
Absolutely. And then the longevity of your employee is incredibly important. But also another thing, too, is how about maintenance? I mean, how about support? I mean, you guys have been around for a little while, so tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, thanks. Just like we're about to crest 10 years. We've built and sold over 11,000 of these things worldwide, and we continue to support them, whether it's from the bolts that we manufacture and the bushings and stuff that we're the American-made manufacturer of. We're going to be here.
Absolutely. And you can find them online at Aerocreeper.com, and also Hangar C.
Yep.
And location in Hangar C.
Yeah.
It's which location? You're right in the middle there somewhere?
We are C23, which is kind of at the south end and on one of the perimeters by the rear door there.
C23, and you can get a demo of the Aerocreeper G2. Excited about this product, and
tell Marshall you heard about it on Sun and Fun Radio.
Absolutely. Tell him you heard about it on Sun and Fun Radio.
We are joined today with Chris Werfel. Did I get that right?
Nailed it.
Excellent. From Bose Aviation. Chris, how you doing today?
I'm doing well. Thank you very much for having us.
So what are we talking about with Bose?
We are talking about our aviation headsets. Obviously, we're here, beautiful day at Sun and Fun 2026, and we're here to talk a little bit about our A30 aviation headset, which is predominantly used in the general aviation space. I mean, it can be used on pretty much any aircraft platform up to commercial. And then we also have our ProFlight aviation headset. But we're also thrilled to be here. I'm not exactly sure how many years we have specifically been at Sun and Fun. It's decades, but we're also celebrating 40 years of Bose being in the aviation space. Yeah, so we're very excited about that.
I have used many different generations of the Bose product in personal and professional flying. Obviously, the predecessor to the A30 was the A20.
Yep.
So can you give us a quick rundown of what advantages the 30 has over the 20?
Sure.
Why should I buy another headset?
Yeah, because we'd like you to. No, kidding.
It's truth, right?
Wow.
Joking.
I like 'em.
Kidding aside. Kidding aside. I think if you have an A20 and it's working well and it's in great shape, quite frankly, I don't think there's a need to run out to get an A30. But if you are certainly in the market for a headset, and perhaps you've either never tried a active noise canceling headset or have never tried a Bose headset, this headset has some wonderful features. First of all, it's lighter. Just overall weight it's a lighter headset, so it's more comfortable as you wear it. Has 20% less clamping force, which actually as you wear it, certainly over 3-4 hours of flying time, makes it feel that much lighter. We have 3 modes of noise cancellation: a low, medium, and high. Probably in the general aviation environment, you're typically flying with it in high, but I know a lot of pilots do like to hear, sort of the aircraft and just be familiar with what's going on, so they might be in that low or medium setting. And then we have all different plug configurations, obviously, for whatever you might be flying. 6-pin, 5-pin XLR if you're doing more commercial stuff, the standard dual plug as well.
I know it has Bluetooth. And it has some tap on the ear cup functionality.
It does. Yeah, so if you are in the medium or the high setting and you want to, again, talk to a co-pilot or somebody who is not on the intercom, or you simply want to hear, again, what's going on in your environment, if you double tap the ear cup, it'll put that single ear cup in that low setting so that you can hear the environment around you. And then double tap it again, and you go right back into full noise cancellation. So it's a neat feature. As many pilots know, they'll often take one of the ear cups and sort of put it behind their ear, which is not the most effective way to wear a noise canceling headset and not overly comfortable. So the tap control feature is nice. You can also, not that we have it here, but you can dial down to that low setting so that both ear cups are in that low setting as well.
So I still fly with pilots who use non-active noise canceling headsets, the older style headsets. Can you kind of briefly talk about some of the benefits of why they should go to an active noise canceling headset?
So
I know them, but you go ahead.
No problem. I think when you do use an active noise canceling headset, you, for the most part, have a much more comfortable headset, because with a passive headset, you need a fair amount of clamping force, so it typically is a tighter fit on your head. So we are able to make up for a lot of that overall noise attenuation, noise cancellation, through an active processing. So basically, canceling sound waves so that you get basically the best noise quality. So one, the noise cancellation is exceptional, but also the quality of audio coming into the headset. Obviously, you need to talk to whether it's ATC or a co-pilot or whomever it may be, and you have that crystal clear communication.
The comfort, a lot of it depends on the ear seals, whether they're vinyl or fabric. What kind of ear seals? Are they gel seals? Are they, do you have different models of ear seals? What's that like?
Yeah, we don't have, so we have one ear seal. It's almost, sort of the easiest way I think that people would sort of understand it is almost like a memory foam is kind of what it feels like.
Okay.
So it's this combination of comfort and performance, and it's this fine line you have to sort of work along. You don't want something that is like just a complete leather ear seal,
right,
where you get all this heat buildup.
I was just thinking about the heat and sweat.
Yeah. So what's nice, these breathe, but they also provide, I should say, obviously a comfortable fit, but then performance for canceling out any background noise, just in a passively, the performance they provide.
Russ, I just went to the 830s about a year and a half ago, and boy, I didn't realize what I was missing. And when I realized I should have, I'd been using passive for about 25 years. is when I kept saying, what? And going back towards the people that use it professionally, you said the XLR, and you also can go to the general aviation headset. Do you guys actually sell those adapters, and how much are those about?
Yeah, we do. We sell some. You can get almost any variation through some of our other resale partners, but you can. They average, I think, between maybe, depending upon which one, $60 and $100. And it's great because then you can, if you're flying in one aircraft and you jump to another, you're not having to use a whole new headset or get a whole new down
and
cable.
It's quick, that's for sure. And also, where can they find you online and here at Sun 'n Fun?
Yep. So we are located right outside of Hangar A. Hard to miss. We're right there with our big Bose tent. And then on Bose.com. So if you go to Bose.com and you can search for us under just headsets, or aviation, I should say, and you'll find our products there. And then I know a lot of people who I'm sure listening to this are comfortable with a lot of our resellers and pilot shops that they buy from, and you'll find us there as well.
Chris, you're very focused on the aviation market, and that's what we're here to talk about. But we know that Bose also has ANC headsets for business travelers as passengers on air, and those are very popular. And probably serve motorsports as well. That's a big market for ANC headsets, as I understand.
Yeah, we do. We do. Certainly our what we would call the consumer market. So for our noise-canceling headsets or like Bluetooth speakers, home theater systems, people are very familiar with, with our whole litany of products. But we branch out into, a lot of different, whether it's formula racing or whatever it may be. We don't have a specific headset for that,
right,
but our headsets are certainly used, for that.
I've used the ANC headsets at car races. They come in very handy for that.
Yeah. And the CD players are great too. Does anybody else? Did I just embarrass myself by admitting I still use a CD player?
So Chris, I do have a question. So I have clients that do have A20s or even Bose X's. For the Bose X model, the more original one. I guess it wasn't quite the original, but yeah. Do you have any kind of show specials, trade-ins, that kind of stuff you're running right now?
We do, as a matter of fact. Yep. So we have it's a gift with purchase. It's one of our Bose mini speakers. So you get that as a free gift with purchase, with the purchase of either an A30 or our ProFlight headset. And then we are also, this week at Sun 'n Fun, we are running a trade-in program. So bring in your A20, and if you would like to upgrade to an A30 or even a ProFlight, we'll give you $300 towards your A20, off of the A30, excuse me, but towards your A20, and you can then upgrade to the A30 if you'd like.
That's great. Keeps them out of the landfill. That's good. Very nice thing that you're doing.
Yeah, no, it's great, and a lot of people are looking to do just that. They've had their A20 as many of you know for decades at this point, or certainly a decade. So yep, ready to upgrade.
Well, I appreciate you coming by. We can find you online at Bose.com, and also not hard to find the big tent out there. It says Bose on the top. And also, real quickly, great customer service. And if you need help, Bose.com and reach out. Thanks so much for joining us.
Awesome. Thank you guys very much.
Joining us on the desk is Sandrine. And Sandrine, we spoke before, and I'm really excited to talk about your Girls Go Fly. Girls Go Fly. And welcome to the radio. And tell us a little bit about the website, but also about your website and your adventure that you went on.
Yeah, well, thank you so much for having me here today. I'm super excited. So Girls Go Fly, I started this company in 2018, and the goal and the purpose behind it was I'd been doing all my flight training since 2013, first gliders, then powered, and eventually commercial and all that. And I was always pretty much the only gal around, so, which is, not a big deal. I'm used to being around guys a lot, but it was like, what's happening to all the women? Why aren't they flying? And so I did a lot of research and started joining all the women's associations, the 99s, the Women in Aviation International. And I realized that a lot of the time it was like the confidence wasn't there. The girls wanted to fly and they would sign up and they would get their private license and then they wouldn't go on to commercial. And so I wanted to encourage them and motivate them and help them build that confidence to just keep going and follow their heart and their dreams. So that's where Girls Go Fly started, and I mentor women, and I take up little girls in my airplane and try to get them excited about flying.
I love every bit of that. That's fantastic. Absolutely. Go ahead, Carl.
I was going to say that we're moving the needle with girls and flying, and that's terrific. But there's also some challenges in that too, isn't there? I just saw one the other day. Had a challenge. Had a young lady that was on my show, 24 years old, right seat of a jet. And people were pushing back on that, and we're still seeing that. I'm excited to see more and more people get into aviation, especially young ladies. And one of the things I think is terrific about Girls Go Fly is the fact that you are an example of that. You are an example of, just looking at you, of someone that actually is doing it. And what else can we find there? What else are you doing as far as outreach to the younger folks that are out there?
So I go to schools, high schools, middle schools. I try to actually go to middle schools more than high schools, because by the time the girls are like 15, 16, they've already made up their mind on where they want to go in their lives. Whereas when they're like 13, they're still not thinking about that yet. So it's kind of a better age to help them make that decision if that's something but I'm also, I try to be inclusive in the terms of not just pilots. Like, you want to be an air traffic controller, you want to be a mechanic, you want to be anything in aviation. I mean, the aviation is so amazing because there's so many jobs, amazing jobs too. So I reached out. I give a lot of conferences. I mean, during the whole pandemic thing, I wasn't able to, but now I'm back in with the Women in Aviation International in the Central Florida chapter. We do a lot of they have career nights, career fairs. So we go and we have a booth and we show the kids. So we, of course, boys and girls, but we talk to everybody. And that's the best outreach, I find, is really going to meet them. And then whenever there's an airport event, a Young Eagles event or something, I try to fly and take up as many kids as I can to get them into this wonderful world.
Do you know, are we seeing an increase in the number of female pilots?
So we are. I mean, I'm not a very patient person, so I'm finding that that the numbers are increasing, but not as fast as I'd like them to, but at least they're increasing. So the latest numbers that just came out actually a few weeks ago, so when I started my whole adventure with Girls Go Fly in 2018, the numbers were like 5.6, 5.7% of pilots were women, which is still really, really low. Now it's getting close to 7. So wow. We have in about 8 years, we've gotten from that to almost 7. So, and in the airline world, it's 7.3 or 7.5. I don't have all the numbers by heart because I just read them like a few days ago. So I'm still trying to get the new numbers in my head. But, we're seeing a progression. But what we're seeing, if you really analyze the stats, you realize that it's between the private pilot license and the commercial. That's where the drop is. Because at the private pilot level, it's 30%.
Really?
But at the commercial level, it's 12. Mm. And so what's happening is the girls aren't finding probably the finances to finance their hour building to get to that 200, 250 hours to get their commercial license and then carry on to the airline transport if that's what they're looking for. So that's the biggest challenge.
How does your outreach compare with the outreach of some of the other organizations like WIA and the 99s?
I think we're all doing kind of similar things. All the organizations are great. I think the reason why there's so many of us, and why did I start Girls Go Fly, even though I was already with the 99s and with WAI, it's simply because I have an airplane and I can take up girls in my airplane, and I figured I would just do a separate thing just to add more. I find if there's more organizations, then, everybody hears from different angles. Like, why are there so many, even in aviation organizations, there's the EAA, there's AOPA, there's, all those different organizations, they all have a reason to be there. But at the end of the day, they're all doing the same thing, trying to promote aviation. So right. I started Girls Go Fly because I thought that there was something I could do for mentoring. And when I started it, actually, the mentoring programs weren't as present as they are now. So now there's been an overlap, but I figure we're all doing the same thing. So,
Carl had mentioned an adventure that you went on.
Yes.
I think we need to talk about that for at least a minute.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Okay. That's yeah. I'm really happy. So I volunteered a lot. I don't know if you've heard of Zara Rutherford and Mac Rutherford. They're the two kids that now hold the world record of the single engine solo flight around the world. So those two kids are brother and sister, so sister and brother. She started before him. She wanted to beat the world record of the youngest woman to fly solo in a single engine airplane around the world, and she did. And she did it right before her 19th birthday. Maybe she was 19, can't remember if it was 18 or 19, but close enough. So anyway, when I found out about that, I was living in Montreal, and she was coming through Montreal, so I became her fixer for that around the world trip. And lo and behold, a year later, her brother decided to beat his sister's record and be the youngest person and man to hold the record. So he finished it at 17 and a half. So the two kids went around the world in a single engine airplane solo, and their dad is Sam, and he owns a ferry flying company. And so I told him, because I got to know him really well, and I said, well, if you ever need somebody to fill a seat for a ferry flight, please call me up. I'd love to ferry. And I had already ferried my Cessna 140 from Montreal to Florida and back to Montreal, and I ferried it again back down here. So I had a bit of ferrying experience, but not international. Well, international, but not over the pond. And so he called me up in June of 2024, and he said, I got a seat for you. I need you to come and fly from Goose Bay, Canada, Newfoundland, to India. So I flew a Piper Archer DX. We were two pilots, no autopilot, from Goose Bay to India, and through Greenland, Iceland, and Europe and everything. And then in March of 2025, I did it again, but this time my work, I was running a business and I couldn't take another 2.5 weeks off. So I only did the 5 days to get to Belgium, and then I flew back with the airline. So that was incredible. That was, and now I'm completely hooked on ferry flying. That is, I didn't even know that was a thing when I started flying in 2013. I did not know that you could ferry airplanes across the world like that. I don't know why, it just never occurred to me, especially not a single engine airplane. But doing that North Atlantic crossing is something else. It's, yeah.
Yeah, it's
especially in an airplane like that.
Yeah, really.
That's
in a
amazing.
four-seater, yeah.
So how do they do that? And we'll talk a little bit more about that after the break, if you don't mind staying with us a little longer. First of all, do you have to bring extra gas, I'm assuming, and where do they put that gas?
So that's the beautiful thing about the Piper Archer DX, and the people from Piper are going to love me today because I'm going to promote their airplane. But the nice thing about the Piper Archer DX, it's the diesel version, which means it flies Jet A fuel, and it's got it's a Continental Tealert engine that runs on Jet A1. And so the two advantages of that is, one, it sips gas way better than a regular gas airplane, AvGas, and two, it also is available in all those countries, because now you don't have to source AvGas in Greenland and Iceland and all those places, or even in Middle East, et cetera, which is really hard to find because we're going to just airports where they're fueling jets, so we just take the same fuel. That there's 60 gallons of gas on board, and so the only way we get the really good range, and when I tell you the range, you're probably your jaws are gonna drop, because we fly it at 50% power, and by doing that, we get 1,178 nautical mile range.
Wow.
Yeah. But you're flying at 88 knots, so guess what? It's a long day.
Actually, there's another type of fluid I'd be more concerned with, which is...
Yes, I know where you're getting that. So in my case, it's called diapers and hydration tablets.
Okay.
That's what works best.
All right, so you have the experience,
Well, that was one of my first questions when he said, "Are you coming?" I was like, "Oh, wait a minute. How are we going to do this? I'm a woman. I can't just do what you guys do."
So there were two of you.
Yeah.
In the plane.
Yeah.
And you said no additional fuel tanks because the 1,100 mile range was perfectly adequate to get you up around the northern route, right? So I guess you briefly described your stops. So how many days did that take?
So it took, we had 1 day off. So it would have taken 11 days, but it took 12 to get to India.
And what time of year?
June.
Okay.
So that's the longest days of the year, which was convenient. But then once you get to Africa anyway, it doesn't really matter because you're so close to the equator that, your days are not as long. But at least for the northern part, yeah, it's interesting for that.
So I'm actually kind of surprised because 12 days in an Archer to India seems pretty good.
Yeah. Yeah, well, we're flying between 6 and 9 hours a day.
Sure.
Yeah.
And each leg is how long?
Yeah, 6 to 9 hours a day.
So about
Each
seven.
leg. So we do one day. There's one day we actually do 2 legs in the same day. We do we call it the double hatter. We do a 15.6 hour day of flying. So it's like a 20-hour day of work duty. In the ferry world, there's not as many rules is in the rest. It's not a part 121 or part 135. So we it's a different world. And the reason why we do it that way is because we go from Hungary to Greece and then Greece to Egypt. And the reason why we don't stay overnight in Greece is because it's Greece in the summertime on top of it all is super expensive and just prohibitive. Like leaving an airplane on the ramp there and then getting the crew into hotels in Greece in June, forget it. It's just not doable. So we end up in Egypt at like 1 a.m, but we could see Cairo at night. It's actually quite beautiful.
So when you're concerned about the possibility of not making it across the water, what type of safety considerations do you have?
So we're really well equipped. We each wear an immersion suit that we wear the whole way across, of course. We wear a life jacket on top of that. We have what we call a yellow brick, which is a satellite-operated device that if we press the button, we get help. I have a Spot Connect as well. Each person has their own Connect device to make sure that they can reach us. And because we're usually flying 2 to 3 airplanes at the same time in loose formation, if one airplane goes down, the other two can circle and make sure the rescue people know exactly where we are. So it's pretty, and then we do the whole safety briefing of, cracking the door and latching it so it doesn't close on us once we hit the water, if we have to do that. So far, I'll knock on my head. Oh, there's wood right there. Knock on wood, we haven't had to ditch, so it's been good. And, for a safety concern, too, that airplane leaves Vero Beach, right, Piper, and it flies 40 to 50 hours by the time it reaches Goose Bay. So we've got those 40 to 50 hours to test the airplane and make sure everything is fine before we do the crossing. And sometimes, it needs service in Goose Bay before we go over, but that's the way we do it.
What's the communication like as you're making those long crossings?
So we don't have UHF, which means that we're using airliners to do the relays to Gander and then to Europe. So we're doing it that way, but it works.
Interesting. Oh, wow. Maybe we heard you on there. So when you were getting ready for this trip, did you actually brief yourself on people that have actually done this and gone down over the water like Heidi Porch or any of those that you listen to? Good. So you didn't want to scare yourself, because we just recently had that on another podcast that I do. I learned about flying from that, where Heidi actually went down the Pacific, but that was a harrowing experience. And I did not know this until listening to her and listening to you, that most of the time you're not alone. You're actually in formation, a loose formation, but you're actually in communication. And also the HF, the relay, which is something that I do all the time because I fly over the Atlantic all the time, is done by other people.
Yeah.
And it's just like with people with ham radios. They understand the whole concept of relay, don't we, Jim?
We do indeed. That's one of the first things that was done in the early days of radio, was relay networks.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because the range was limited.
Yeah. But anyway, going back to this aircraft, I know you're now a big proponent of the Piper DX. It's a beautiful aircraft, and I have my nephew actually, he ferries those airplanes everywhere, but the one thing he said to me, he says, I don't think I'd ever go over the water. Absolutely would never go over the water. That seems a little bit too scary. But the other part of this too is, for those that don't know much about Africa, some of those are very remote areas, aren't they?
Yeah, absolutely. So the big difference between flying in North America and flying anywhere else in the world, and I guess the exception would be Australia, which I haven't flown there yet, but I know that there's a lot of GA over there, is that there is no general aviation really anywhere like there is in North America. Canada and the US, we are completely blessed with the general aviation. So as soon as you leave this part of the world and you go across the pond, in the UK there's a bit of general aviation, but as the more you go southeast, the less there is. And so now you're like the only non-commercial airliner or military airplane in the sky. So you get the ATC conversations are very different because they're not used to us.
I was wondering about that, when they hear you coming and they're like, who? Doing what? Where? Who?
Yeah, precisely. But we've always gotten really good service because, there's still ATC and we have our credentials and we have our permits and everything. So there's no problem really there.
Speaking of communication with ATC, yes, English is the official language of ATC, but I'm sure that the level of English varied widely on your journey.
So how many minutes do we have?
3.
Okay, so I'll just do a really quick anecdote. That's just my funniest one of all the ATC communications. So the Greek people they're great, but they drive me nuts because they ask you for a position report like every 10 miles, and you're with them for like 2 hours. So it's like, well, we're basically 10 miles further than we were 4 minutes ago. So so it's like, really, I need another one? But that's what happens there. But the greatest one is in Cairo, because in Cairo, the pilots are very respectful. And so when they come on the radio, they say, Salam alaikum, which is hello. And then they say, November, blah, 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 request to Inshallah. So if God is willing, I request this. And then they finish with Alaikum Salam. And then the ATC comes back, Salam Alaikum, November, da, da, da. Alaikum Salam. And they do the Salam Alaikum, Alaikum Salam, and the Inshallah. And you're like, I'm trying to get on the airwave. And you can't, because if you took out all those things, you'd actually get more airwave time. But you can't. So that was
very
fun.
Friendly people, that's for sure. That's awesome. Hey, one other thing, too. Sandrine, you really are a great ambassador for ladies in aviation, women in aviation, young people in aviation, but also somebody who's an ambassador here for Sun and Fun, involved in so many things here, and you do volunteer on campus. I want a big shout out there. What do you do actually here as a Sun and Fun volunteer?
So for 5 years, I worked with the sponsorship department at the headquarters, and this year's my first year working with Nancy Leanhoutz and Lights at the 927 Club, and I'm really happy to be there and helping out over there. So I love Sun and Fun. This is my 7th year, but my 6th year volunteering.
Yeah, we really appreciate you. And as I can say, I'm a testament to that. Boy, that's beautiful over there, that 927, isn't it?
You picked a nice place to volunteer. For those who don't know, our 927 Club that Sandrine mentioned is a upgraded amenity serving breakfast and lunch on the flight line and dinner too during the night air shows. Air-conditioned comfort, full bar, private restrooms. Nice way to enjoy the show.
Absolutely.
And you can find out more about Sandrine, her experience, and also her inspiration at girlsgofly.com. Girlsgofly.com. Maybe stop by and wave at her at the 927 Club there. And she's got this really cool-looking yellow hat that she's walking around in today. And the other cool thing, she rides around, I think it's a Harley or something like that you have running around.
It's actually a Honda Shadow.
Yeah, Honda Davidson.
Shadow,
Okay, yeah, but it's a cool bicycle anyway. I'm just kidding. Motorcycle. A little dig there. But it's really neat to see you all the time on the campus, because she's always smiling, because she's around airplanes, flying airplanes all day, and she is quite inspirational towards women in aviation. We really appreciate what you do here at Sun and Fun, and also what you do for women in aviation. Thanks so much for joining us on the deck here at Sun and Fun.
We are very excited now to be joined by Keith Clark of Phillips 66 Aviation. Hello, Keith.
Hey, how you doing?
Fantastic. It's been a great morning so far. Nice and cool. The clouds are there, keeping the temperature down so far. It's been great. Keith, tell us a little bit about Phillips 66 Aviation.
So I work for Phillips 66 Aviation, but we started a program called Save a Life, Verify Fuel Type to try to get pilots and FBOs to communicate. The biggest mistake somebody can make is a failure to communicate the fuel type.
Absolutely. And we were talking offline because of, and we were just talking about somebody that was near to dear to my heart, which actually is part of one of the examples you have here, that was misfueled and unfortunately lost his life. So we're going to talk a little bit about that and what we can do to make sure that doesn't happen. So the name of the program is again?
It's called Save a Life, Verify Fuel Type. We make heart-shaped stickers that we put on the trucks and on self-service equipment. We have stickers that say Verify Fuel Type, preventmisfueling.com, trying to bring awareness. What we found as we studied some of these misfuelings, it's not just one thing. It's a pilot not communicating. Pilots love to say, top it off, fill it up. Everybody's in a hurry. People don't want to talk anymore. So what we're trying to do is get the pilot, the FBO, and the aircraft does sign language by the placards, to all communicate. Because if one ball gets dropped, it's one thing, but when all three things fail, it becomes gravity, and a tragedy can happen.
There are certainly some airframes that pilots are especially aware of this kind of thing. I'm thinking I used to fly a PA-46, right? So there are piston PA-46 and there are turbine PA-46s.
Exactly.
And they look very similar
a lot of those piston ones get converted to turbine engines.
And
that happened
as well
in Spokane, Washington, back in 2015. So the 421s, the twins.
Yes, I used to fly one of those too.
The Aerostar, all those airplanes. And what we found as we started talking to people is after the fact that there was no communication. There was top it off, okay. And what should have happened is 100 LOVAD. communicate the tail number, and then look at the ticket. The fueling ticket said jet fuel on some of these misfuelings, and they signed it. I could tell you stories. I could sit here for an hour telling you stories about near misses, but people say, what is a near miss? A near miss is every day when a pilot walks in and says, top it off, and somebody else says, okay. You know, once the fuel gets in the airplane, that's beyond a near miss. That's a misfueling. But we have to do better in the industry.
I think we were talking earlier today about a Piper four-seater that was running a diesel engine on Jet A, and you wouldn't expect that if you saw it on the ramp initially.
No, I'm sure that when she was flying, that was a previous interview we did, I'm sure when she's flying, she's very aware of misfueling and specifying the fuel type because she's such an unusual airplane.
Yeah.
But it's not just unusual airplanes that have the problem.
Yeah, we had 3 aircraft that had been converted to diesel engines, landed in Sandpoint, Idaho, a couple years ago. The pilots did a great job. They said, hey, these are diesel-converted aircrafts. They need jet fuel. You're going to have the round spout because we can't fix the opening on the wings. And the young lady said, got it. She went down. She put the round spout in on the truck. She drove up to the aircraft. Before she put the fueling mat on, she looked, and the placard still said avgas on the other wing. All 3 airplanes. She stopped. She went inside, and she talked to the pilot, said, hey, you told me these are converted diesel engines and need jet fuel. And he said, yeah, don't put avgas, you'll kill us. She goes, no, just come here. And what's scary is those aircraft had flown to other airports, and nobody had pointed it out. The pilots didn't even know. The people that converted the aircraft didn't. So I guarantee you she saved their life because eventually somebody would have put avgas in that aircraft. We just heard about a Diamond diesel less than 2 months ago, misfueled. Now, it never took off. They caught it. But those are the things that we have to communicate. And that's why we started a campaign called Bond It, Verify Fuel Type for the line people. You look at the aircraft, you bond it, but then you walk over a few steps and you look at that placard and you look at that truck and make sure they match. But I need the pilots to communicate.
Yep.
Avgas 100, jet fuel with fizzy. Don't just assume somebody knows what kind of fuel goes in that aircraft.
So I am personally, I don't know, I'm always sitting there watching them fuel my airplane, even if I walk away.
I would like to watch whenever I can. There's some airports where it's not practical.
Yeah.
But if you can, I'd like to watch, yes.
But you got to stay focused, because I can tell you a story that happened in New Mexico where the pilot stood there and watched him put jet fuel in it. He was a 421 pilot, but he was training in King Air. And they said, hey.
He just didn't notice.
He didn't think, because he'd been coming in getting fuel for the King Air, but now he's in the 421. We had a pilot come in to Centennial, Colorado years ago, and they said, the guy gets out of his airplane. The young man says, what can I do for you? And the guy says, top it off with jet fuel. And he goes, jet fuel? And the guy goes, yeah. And he goes, sir, that's a 421. And the pilot looked at him and said, young man, you shouldn't even be working here. That's a King Air.
Oh, boy.
And the young man stayed calm and said, sir, turn around and look at your airplane. And the pilot turned around and goes, oh, my God, I fly the King Air every day, and they put me in the 421 today. So these are all true stories.
Wow.
And this is the type of thing, and that's why we come to Sun and Fun and AirVenture Phillips 66 to talk to pilots. We do training at airports. We work with NATA Safety First, prevent misfueling, but we have to get to the pilots. And we're going to be doing training up at the school on misfueling. If I call it misfueling training, pilots won't come. So I call it Bob Hoover, the Shrike, a mistake. Bob Hoover, no man has not made a mistake. Because Bob Hoover was misfueled on May 25th, 1978. And when I tell them that, they come. And then we talk about Bob Hoover stories, and then we talk about the real seriousness of communication.
And there are hundreds of flight schools in our country. What is your outreach to each of these?
So that's something we need help with. We tell flight schools, the thing about flight schools is they're filling it up at the same airport. They get in a bad habit of saying, top it off. Hey, we just flew. Top that thing off. Fill it up. We want, even when you're at your own airport, to say 100 low lead and tell, because you're going to go somewhere else. And then the other thing, I had a guy say, well, Keith, I say top it off 100 low lead. But the average person nowadays listens to 3 words. So they may not even hear anything past top it off. So we say 100 low lead, Jet A with fizzy. Let's get it organized. We give free training. PreventMisfueling.com is free training for pilots, for flight schools. What we need is somebody to reach out and help us get in the thing. Now, the flight schools say, hey, it's not part of the curriculum to do that. And I'm like, you can add that. You got to do this, but you can always add additional training.
Sure.
I would say that, especially at some of the busier flight schools, their students may never have actually filled up an airplane.
That's true.
They just park it, and line service comes by, and they know to top off the airplane. So there are private pilots.
That's a good point, because you show up at the flight school for your lesson,
ready to go.
Right. It was fueled an hour ago. You weren't there.
Right, and maybe you get fuel in a cross country, but maybe you don't have to.
Yeah,
so you just don't. So here you are, a private pilot now, and you've never actually asked for your own fuel, let alone know that there are two different types of fuel trucks that might pull up and this kind of thing.
And if you look at the fuel trucks, all they have is a sticker on the side with 3-inch letters that say jet.
Yeah.
I can tell you a story about an airplane that was misfueled a 421 down in Texas, and there's 4 people that got very lucky. The pilot did an incredible job. His wife, his son, and his daughter were on that airplane. And what happened, we call it the story of 23. But what happened was they sent the son in, and he said, Dad said, say 70 gallons per side. When he said 70 gallons per side, the people at the FBO said negative 70. And he didn't know what negative 70 meant. But in FBO language, that means jet fuel without additive. And then she radioed out to the line person and said, hey, negative 70. The line person said, hey, I got to the airplane and I was a little confused. I radioed back in. I said, you said negative 70 on the twin. He said, yes. They put jet fuel in it. Halfway down the runway, the pilot said, I knew there was something wrong, but I was too far down. He took off, and from the time he said, we need to return, and the tower said, you're cleared for runway 4, and then the son said, we're not going to make it, and the tower said, what do you mean, was 23 seconds. But he did a great job, and he crash-landed that school, crash-landed that airplane right behind a school, in the only place that he could put it down, tore off his left wing, and thank God the kids were in the school. But those are the type things that we have to do better in the industry. We have to communicate. It starts with the pilot and the FBO and the aircraft communicating.
Keith, we'd like to keep you on till after the break. There's so much that we need to unpack, and I know there's some websites out there. What is the website? One more time?
Yeah, preventmisfueling.com. And we've got challenge coins at Phillips 66. I've got T-shirts that says Bob Says, verify fuel time.
Absolutely. Well, thanks. We're going to keep you on the deck for a second. We're going to go to a break, and one of the things that's so important is safety and fueling.
So we wanted to keep talking with Keith from Phillips 66 Aviation. We were talking about misfueling accidents or near misses, as a lot of them, as you termed them. Very interesting, because we do have this problem out there. We just sign a fuel slip, right? We say fill it up, and then we walk away and we go to lunch, and we come back and we sign a fuel slip, and we never saw what truck put what in it and anything like that. So it's a education initiative that you guys are starting to try to focus on this.
Yeah, so we've been actually doing this for over 5 years now. We started in 2020. COVID kind of messed us up the first year, but we didn't give up, and we continue to talk. We go to MBAA, we go to S&D, we go everywhere we can to talk to pilots. Our day job is talking to FBOs, but these are the big events that we go after the pilots to educate.
Now, we've talked so far mostly about the jet fuel versus avgas misfueling, but there are other types of misfueling, right? And a big one is diesel exhaust fluid.
Yeah, so diesel exhaust fluid and FSII, fuel system icing inhibitor, they look identical. They're both clear substances. They come in 55-gallon drums. And there's been multiple situations in the industry over the since 2017, but actually one happened in Brazil in 2013 that nobody ever talked about. So what we're trying to do is bring awareness. So if you have an injector, you got to make sure you have the proper equipment. We say at Phillips 66, no 55-gallon drums of DEF on site, because you have to take it in a bucket, a funnel. Anything DEF touches is contaminated. So what we say is buy the 2.5-gallon jugs, have it in a secured, dedicated place, people trained and padlocked, and only go out and fill up the DEF tank. The fizzy tank should be padlocked, and you have procedures to make sure that happens, because what happens if you get DEF into a system, it crystallizes, plugs up the filter, and that aircraft will come out of the sky. We've seen it, I think, 13 times in the Omaha situation by the time they had all the aircraft tracked down. We had one in Florida, actually 2 different situations in Florida, one in Savannah, Georgia. There's been a recent one like 2023 in Las Vegas. So these are all places that we can see the crystallization, and you can't get it out. You have to wash it with water. You have to wash the fuel tanks and everything. Everything it touches is pretty much destroyed on the aircraft and the injection system on the truck.
Yeah, and especially as a pilot in the airplane flying, there's nothing you can do.
No, you just keep the speed and find a place to ditch it. Because
I mean, there are some miraculous stories. I know Carl and I had interviewed a pilot of a Citation that had exactly this problem, where they lost both engines up, I believe it was up at cruise altitude, and they made it all the way down and landed.
He was an incredible pilot. The rumor on the street is he was a former glider pilot, and he had the experience, but he never gave up. There was another one that lost 2 out of 3 engines. But those are the type things. The initial one in Omaha, a couple military planes. They didn't know what it was. They actually changed out the engine, and they trashed another engine because it was
still in the system.
It was in the fueling system, the tanks, and it's crystallization. And we're going to be doing training classes up at the school. I'll put a couple slides in there about the DEF, because it's a misfueling. It's a tragic one, and luckily nobody's died yet, but we've been so close. So we have to make sure. So if you need fuel and they have an injector, you should be asking that FBO, what is your injection policy? Do you have controls in place to prevent DEF contamination?
So educate us on DEF at the FBO. So DEF is not something you put in aviation fuel of any sort.
DEF.
Why would they have it sitting there anyway?
Because the refueler trucks have diesel engines, and they have to use DEF in the new trucks. So we're forced on it.
I can go right back to basics.
Okay, sure.
What is DEF? What's it there for, as Russ said?
Yeah.
And why? So why is it there for diesel trucks? What's it doing?
So what it's doing, it's going into the exhaust and helping control emissions coming out the tailpipe. It's an environmental thing that helps the exhaust make it better. It's basically water and urea. It's about 66% water and 33% urea. But it's not designed ever. We see it in the automotive industry all the time. I still remember the Omaha deal, the investigation, because we looked at everything and we were like, it's not fuel. There's too many airplanes. What we didn't look at was the injection system. We looked at the injection to make sure it was injecting, but we didn't have any idea that somebody put the wrong product in. And after we found out, they sent us a picture, the FAA sent us a picture, and we looked at that filter, we was like, holy cow. And I sent it to our, we make fuel. So I have a lab out there that has some really, really smart people. And I sent a picture instantly to Enrico, and I said, Enrico, look at this. I called him because I'm not waiting. He didn't answer. I called him a second time, 2 minutes later. He didn't answer. I called him a third time. He said, Keith, I'm in a meeting. I said, get out of the meeting. And he went and looked at it, and as soon as he saw the picture of that filter, he said, DEF contamination. I said, what? And he said, diesel exhaust fluid. How did it get into an aircraft? And then we started connecting the dots. We have a program called Connecting the Dots. And what we try to do is say, learn from mistakes and prevent them from ever happening again. So we called up the FAA, and I said, 5 minutes later, I said, DEF. And he said, how did you guys figure it out so fast? I said, because I got really smart people. I make fuel. I've been making fuel for 99 years. I said, why didn't you show me this picture 4 days ago? Let's work together, FAA. And those are the type things that we can learn from. But we got to get the message out to every FBO. And we need the pilot's help. You ask the pilot. The pilot asks the FBO. You all work together for safety. And that's what it comes down to. Misfueling, DEF contamination, even as simple as filtration. You should be asking that FBO, when's the last time you changed out those filters? Do you have aviation-approved filtration?
That's right. I think at our airport there's a log. Each morning somebody has to sign a log. They've checked the filters or sumped them and checked them on the fuel truck each morning. I think that's their procedure.
Yeah, we sump the tanks. We sump the filter under pressure. We take nozzle samples. We have nozzle screens. We have all these things, but we also have humans. And humans sometimes make mistakes. And that's why the more people are talking about it, and if I was a pilot, and I'm not, I just deal with fuel all the time. And I deal with pilots, and I deal with FBOs, but I'd be asking questions. And the more questions depend on how many bad answers I get the first time. But come to the training we're doing up at the school, because we're going to talk about this. We got stuff on lubricants also. We make XC aviation oil. But the pilots need to be educated. You can't depend on other people. You got to work together and be a team.
Are there other examples of different misfueling? So we've had the DEF thing. We talked about the Jet A versus AvGas. Any other types of misfueling?
We have quantity. The jet trucks, they don't do decimal points.
Right.
So when the meter says 50, it's 50 gallons. But on an AvGas truck, it says 5.0. And we had a situation where they came in and said they wanted 50 gallons per side.
And they got 5.
Oh my.
Yeah. They got 5.0 because he'd been using the jet truck all day, and he got 5. Now the pilots took off, and they got up and they noticed both their gauges low, and they thought, well, maybe the gauges are broken. Thank God the pilot said, let's go back. They came back, and the engineer or the mechanic was looking at it and said, I don't know what's wrong. How much fuel should be in here? And then they went over and they said, just fill the thing totally full. Let's see how much. And that's when they figured out they really didn't get 50. They got 5 gallons per side. And they would have ran out of fuel. And we see pilots. The other thing about pilots, when I investigate accidents, because every time an airplane comes out of the sky, everybody's getting involved, is sometimes they push it. They push it too far. And they run out of fuel. And it's like, guys, you could have stopped 100 miles before and taken on a little bit more fuel. Don't get in such a hurry that we miss the thing, because we have gravity. If you want to do it in your pickup truck, fine, because you're going to pull over on the side of the road. Airplane, you're coming out of the sky. Gravity has a tendency to do that too.
Gravity wins very often.
Every time.
It sounds like the moral of all that you've told us over these 2 segments is make sure you're getting the right fuel, getting the right amount of fuel, and communicating. Right. Thank you, Jim. With the fuelers.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Ask questions. Communication and verification. One of the things we do in training, and we've evolved, is it comes down to those 2 things: communicate and verify. Communicate and verify.
And I think that is a perfect way to sum up everything you've talked about, Keith. Thank you so much for coming here on Son of Fun Radio. As always, Carl and Jim and I happy to host up here. We've got announcements going all day long, and we're going to take a short break here.
Kelly, I'm going to let you take it away and
Thank you,
introduce our
Carl.
guest.
Thank you, Carl. And it's so great to be here on the deck at Sun and Fun for Women Shine Radio Show. We do it every morning here on the deck. It's starting at 11 o'clock. And I'm really pleased to introduce my first guest of the week, and it's Megan Thomas. She's marketing supervisor for AvCo, a very important insurance company in the GA market. And Megan, you're going to spend some time talking to us about your very interesting career as a marketing supervisor, because as I say, whatever your passion and interest is in aviation, you will find a career that suits you.
Absolutely, Kelly. Thank you so much for having me, Carl, too. It's such a pleasure to be here at Sun and Fun today. I absolutely love the story of how I came to AvCo. So before I worked at AvCo, I've been there for about 7 years now, and I didn't have any type of background in insurance or aviation at all, so it was all really brand new, but I knew about marketing, and I have a background in graphic design and printing and sales. And it's funny, AvCo was actually one of my customers. I was selling ad specialty products, and I worked with Susan at AvCo for a couple years, and I discovered that I really wanted to be my customer. I wanted to be the one that was deciding what color logo to put on the stress ball. I wanted to be that person. And when I saw AvCo had a marketing coordinator position open, I applied and I got the job, and I've been so happy there ever since, and worked my way up from coordinator to specialist to now supervisor, where I am managing the day-to-day of our marketing department. So
excellent,
it's awesome.
Excellent. So before we dive into why AvCo is a member of WI, I wanted you to spend some time talking about why you're at Sun and Fun and where people can find you and get information.
Yes, please come by and see us. We're in Hangar C, booth 57. We have all sorts of AvCo swag. We got hats, magnifiers, earplugs, stickers, special patriotic stickers this year. Definitely stop by and see us. Talk to JT and Lucas. They'll happily get you a quote. Talk to you, answer any of your questions about aviation insurance. And even if you just want to talk planes, we're there for you. So we're excited. Please stop by and see us.
And what hangar are you in? Remind me.
Hangar C, booth 57.
Excellent, excellent. Okay, well, thanks for being here at Sun and Fun. But recently you were at our WI conference. It was our 36th annual conference in Dallas, Texas. And there again, you had the opportunity to talk to 5,500 attendees about AvCo and the company. So what kind of interest level did you get there when you were in Dallas?
So we talked to a lot of student pilots and females that, and men alike, that are interested in learning to fly, and then also people that they may have airline jobs now, but they want to get back into GA eventually. So talking to them about, hey, you know, before you buy that aircraft, give us a call. Things like that. So, and it's amazing, an amazing event to go there. And it really fills our cup because you just leave there feeling like you can set the world on fire. And we always joke back at the office, you know, when the girls come back from women aviation, get out of the way, boys. Like, like we're here to stay, and girl power. So we love it. It's such an inspirational event, and just being around so many people that are so passionate about aviation and just seeing the different avenues. Aviation is so huge, and there's so many different segments. Like you can find a home in aviation. Aviation is big enough for all of us. So, and that's a big reason that AvCo is a supporter of women in aviation and all of the different groups, because we don't care what you look like, your age, sex, gender, political leanings, who you love, color, creed. If you like airplanes, we like you. So that's why we support all the different, you know, we want to be an inclusive place. So that's something we value.
That's very good value. I also want to spend some time talking about inspiring that next generation of workforce. And I know at AvCo, you're very interested in looking at maybe some internships or some jobs at AvCo so they can learn more about insurance. And it's got to start at a younger age, like our Girls in Aviation Day program. So can you tell us about your involvement there?
I mean, absolutely. I think a big part of it too is, you know, learning the basics, learning about aviation, and then just having that sense, like you all know, aviation, it's a whole nother language in itself. So like, you know, learning that is a great foundation to then come in and, you know, if you're good with people, if you like storytelling, if you like, you know, solving puzzles, you know, to be like an underwriter, you know, hearing these different situations and scenarios that our customers call with and figuring out, you know, hey, is this a good risk? That's all really important. And not just, you know, we're not just looking for underwriters either. We have an accounting department. We have a compliance department. We have the marketing department. So there's room for everyone.
Yeah. At AvCo, please tell me, like, where are you based and how many people do you have working there?
So we are based in Frederick, Maryland, about 2 miles from FDK Airport. And we have currently 32 employees on site. So we're all in the office, and it's great. I love working for AvCo. It's very family friendly, and we're actually owned by a bigger company. So that's really nice because we get really great benefits. So it's like that family friendly feel, but you get the perks of working for like a larger corporation. So it's awesome.
And I know as a company, as you said before, you're very involved with all the affiliate groups. Mm-hmm. And you like to talk about moving the needle in terms of getting more women involved, as we've talked about. So tell us a little bit about that campaign, which I know is year-round.
Yes. So we believe not only, you know, we're looking to move the needle forward, not only just to increase the number of female pilots in the aviation industry, but just women in general, women in all roles, women in every aspect of the aviation industry. So every year at Oshkosh, we actually have our Women Moving the Needle Day that happens on Tuesday, where we have influential women stop by our booth, and we do like meet and greets. So we've had people in the past, Jolie Lucas, we've had, we've had so many people, Jolie Lucas, Nia Williams, Ivy Erickson, I could list so many different ones, but we try to highlight women, not just pilots, but, you know, women in ad sales, women that work at Redbird, women, you know, like different aspects. So people could come and talk to them. And it's just an opportunity to come out. We give out T-shirts and stickers, and we try to make a big splash about it and just celebrate the increase of women in this awesome industry that we have.
Yeah, that's great. Do you ever think about learning how to fly yourself?
I do. Never say never, right? And I'm proud to say that I have 9 hours in ground school.
Excellent.
So
that's a good start.
Yep, we all start at 0, right? So I'm definitely thinking about it, like continuing that. So
That's good. That's good. Now, here at Sun and Fun, as you said, people can come by and get a quote.
Yep.
Are you mainly talking to independent, like aircraft owners, and kind of working with them as to what kind of insurance they need, no matter what kind of aircraft? Can we talk about that just a bit?
Yes. So we have a owned policy and a non-owned or renter policy, which is also like our student pilot policy. So basically owners and non-owners. So really, if you own an aircraft, if you're learning to fly, if you're building an aircraft, if you're borrowing or renting, so we have a policy for you. And really, we specialize in single-engine, piston-powered, non-military, non-commercial aircraft that you fly for fun or as a hobby.
Right.
So
And
that's our niche.
Your niche is greatly appreciated here at Sun and Fun, no doubt, because obviously there's a lot of individual owners and student pilots. In the student pilot category, are you seeing more females that come through?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. I mean, even just going to these shows over the last few years, seeing so many more people of color, women, like all these different groups. It's amazing to see just more faces, and it's incredible. So
that's great. I always like to say, you started you weren't in the aviation industry before, but what hooked you?
I mean, I think it's just, aviation is cool. It's sexy. Everyone gets, interested in aviation, and then insurance is kind of boring. You don't really care about it until you need it. So it's really fun to kind of marry those two things together, and that's what I get excited about at my job. Really, I think what inspired me to even just the whole aviation aspect is just seeing, going to Oshkosh, really, because that's kind of cements it for you. You see you're surrounded by all these people that are so jazzed and so excited, and just the air show, you really got to see it to believe it. And that's where I think, it's contagious.
Yeah, that contagious. We're happy that you brought it here on the deck at Women Shine this morning, and thank you, Carl, for having us.
Yeah, Kelly, we're so happy to have you every day at 11 o'clock, Women Shine, Women in Aviation. And Megan, thanks to you and also Avemco for everything that you do and your sponsorship of so many things that are related to aviation safety, and that includes Flying Mag's podcast there. I learned about flying from that.